Hi everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome back to our channel, and in today's video we're diving into a crucial topic that's becoming increasingly important in today's digital world: ADA compliance. As businesses and organizations strive to create a more inclusive online experience, understanding and implementing ADA compliance has become a really big priority. So join us today as we explore the ins and outs of ADA compliance checkers, their significance, and how they can help ensure that everyone has equal access to digital content. So let's get started. So what are ADA compliance checkers? They are essentially tools or software that help evaluate and assess the accessibility of digital content and online platforms according to guidelines set forth in the Americans with Disabilities Act and related accessibility standards such as the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, so the WCAG. The ADA is a federal law in the United States that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in various areas, including public accommodations and services provided by private entities. And in the context of digital content and websites, ADA compliance requires that these platforms are designed and developed in a way that helps people with disabilities to interact and access the internet with them effectively. The WCAG provides a set of technical standards and guidelines for making digital content, including websites, apps, and documents accessible to individuals with disabilities. These guidelines cover aspects like text alternatives for images, keyboard navigations, and captioning for videos, and lots more. ADA compliance checkers are essentially tools to help website owners, developers, and content creators identify any accessibility issues within their own content that they create for the web. These tools typically scan websites and digital assets for potential violations of ADA and WCAG guidelines. They generate reports that highlight specific accessibility issues like missing alt text for images, improper heading structure, lack of color contrast, and lots more. It's important to note while ADA compliance checkers can be viable tools in identifying accessibility issues, it's also really important to note that they might not catch all potential problems, and manual testing and user feedback from individuals with disabilities are also really crucial components of ensuring a truly accessible digital environment. But ultimately, websites that adhere to the ADA and WCAG guidelines provide a more inclusive online experience for all users. So let's talk about some of the guidelines mentioned by the WCAG. WCAG provides a comprehensive set of guidelines for making digital content accessible to people with disabilities. And the guidelines are organized into 4 main principles, and each of them have their own success criteria. So the first principle is the content should be perceivable. And some features of that might be to provide text alternatives for non-text content, like for example images. Provide captions and other alternatives for multimedia, create content that can be presented in a different way without losing information, and making content readable, text content readable and understandable. The second principle is operable, so essentially making all of the functionality available from a keyboard, and also provide users enough time to read and use content. You don't want to use content that causes seizures or physical discomfort, so anything with flashing content and things like that, and you want to provide ways to help users navigate, find content, and determine where they are. The third principle is to make content understandable, so essentially make text content readable and understandable. Make web pages appear and operate in predictable ways, and help users avoid correct mistakes. And lastly, robust, so essentially maximize compatibility with current and future user agents, including assistive technologies. Within each of these principles, there are specific criteria that provide detailed guidelines for making content accessible. Some examples of these criteria include ensuring that images have descriptive alternative texts, providing captions and transcripts for videos, using sufficient color contrast for text and backgrounds, ensuring that all functionality can be accessed using a keyboard, and providing clear and consistent headings for a content structure. These are just a few examples, and there are so much more success criteria under each principle. The WCAG guidelines are designed to be adaptable to different technologies and are meant to provide a comprehensive framework for ensuring digital accessibility for people with disabilities. It's really important to note that WCAG has different levels of conformance. There's A, which is the lowest level. AA, which is intermediate, and then AAA, which is the highest. And a lot of organizations aim to achieve at least level AA conformance to provide a more inclusive online experience. However, achieving level AAA conformance can be challenging and may not be feasible in all cases. So how can we check websites for accessibility? It involves a combination of automated testing, manual evaluation, and user feedback. Here are some steps that you can take to assess a website's credibility. The first one is to use automated tools. So automated accessibility tools and checkers to automatically scan the website for common accessibility issues. And some tools include the Wave Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the video. Axe accessibility testing tools, A-Checker. These tools will provide reports highlighting and potential accessibility issues such as missing alt text, improper heading structure, and color contrast problems. However, automated tools may not catch all issues, so manual testing is also really essential. You also want to familiarize yourself with WCAG guidelines. So essentially just get acquainted with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines and what their success criteria is. This will help you understand what constitutes good accessibility and aim for at least level AA conformance to provide a solid baseline for accessibility as well. You also want to undertake a manual evaluation. So essentially perform manual checks on various aspects of your website, including using the WCAG guidelines as a reference. This involves testing keyboard navigations, headings, links, forms, and multimedia elements. You also want to ensure that images have descriptive alt text that conveys their purpose and content, and verify that color contrast meets accessibility standards to make text readable for all users. You want to confirm that interactive elements like buttons, links, forms are operable with the keyboard. You also want to test with assistive technologies, so you want to utilize screen readers like NVDA or VoiceOver and other assistive technologies to experience your website from the perspective of users with disability, and pay attention to how these technologies interpret your content and interact with your site's features. Accessibility is all about creating an inclusive user experience, so ensure that your website is not just technically accessible, but also intuitive and user-friendly for all visitors. You want to regularly test and update. So essentially, accessibility is an ongoing commitment. So regularly test your website for new content and features to maintain its accessibility. And you want to address issues promptly and keep improving your site's accessibility over time. And staying informed is also really important. You want to keep up to date with changes in accessibility guidelines, standards, and best practices to ensure your website remains compliant. If you have a development team as well, educate them about accessibility best practices and encourage them to follow accessibility coding techniques during development, and keep track of the accessibility improvements that you've made thus far and the issues you've addressed. This documentation can be useful for future reference and audits as well. Invite individuals with disabilities to test your website and provide feedback on the user experience. Their insight can really uncover usability issues and accessibility barriers that you might not have identified. Engaging real users with disabilities with your content will give you one of the most accurate ways to see how compliant your website is for accessibility needs. Remember that achieving a good accessibility is an ongoing process, and it requires dedication, continuous learning, and a user-centered approach. By combining automated tools, manual testing, user feedback, and a commitment to improvement, you can create a website that is accessible and usable for everyone. So let's go over some online tools that can help you evaluate the accessibility of your website. One that we've mentioned before and one of the more popular ones out there is the WAVE Web Accessibility Evaluation Tool. It's widely used and provides both browser extensions and an online version as well, and it highlights accessibility errors and suggests improvements in real time as you navigate your website. It was developed by WebAIM, a non-profit organization dedicated to promote web accessibility. WAVE help website owners, developers, and content creators identify accessibility issues within their web content and provides guidance on how to fix those issues as well. Some key features of WAVE include real-time feedback. So WAVE offers real-time feedback on accessibility issues as you navigate your website as well, and this is with the browser extension as well. It just means that it allows you to see accessibility errors and improvements while interacting with your content. WAVE also provides browser extensions for Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox, and these extensions basically add a toolbar to your browser, making it really easy to test any web page that you visit. In addition to browser extensions, we have this online testing tool, and all you need to do is enter the URL at the top, and you'll receive essentially a detailed accessibility report. This WAVE application generates reports that highlight accessibility issues in a clear and understanding manner. Each issue is marked with icons, and clicking on an icon provides more information about that issue. The visual representation as well is really helpful. The tool also uses icons and indicators to show different types of issues as well, such as missing alt text, incorrect heading structure, missing ARIA labels, low color contrast, and lots more. This kind of visual representation makes it easier to understand the areas that need improvement as well. WAVE not only identifies issues, but it also provides explanations and suggestions for fixing them. This guidance can be extremely helpful for individuals who may be new to web accessibility. WAVE can simulate keyboard navigation to help you evaluate whether your website can be fully operated using only keyboard inputs. And it also supports multiple languages as well, making it accessible for users from around the world. WebAIM provides additional resources, tutorials, and training materials on its website as well, to help users understand and improve web accessibility using the WAVE tool. WAVE is widely regarded as a user-friendly and reliable tool for conducting initial accessibility assessments. However, it's important to note that while automated tools like WAVE can catch many common accessibility issues, manual testing and user feedback are also really essential for a comprehensive evaluation as well.